Yellowstone fans, gather around because we're heading back once again to uncover the origins of the Dutton family. After the heartbreaking finale of 1923, 1944 is officially on the way, and it promises to show us what life looked like for Spencer Dutton and his son, John Dutton II. And trust me, there is so much to unpack. Buckle up, because this may be the biggest and most ambitious prequel we've ever seen in the Yellowstone universe. First, let's revisit that devastating 1923 finale, the one that absolutely shattered us. Spencer and Alex's almost fairy tale love story came to a tragic end when Alex arrived in Montana, gave birth to John Dutton II, and then lost her life. Honestly, her death hit harder than any other in the entire Yellowstone universe. After that loss, we saw Kara step in to raise young John Dutton II, while Elizabeth, having lost the love of her life as well, returned to Boston to be with her family. As for Spencer, once Jacob retired, he took control of the Dutton Ranch and began shaping it into the powerful legacy we recognize today. So, what kind of story awaits us in 1944? First of all, we'll meet Spencer at an advanced age, an experienced, wise man who has grown the ranch far beyond its former limits. Alex's absence weighs heavily on him, aging him deeply. He never remarries, but during this time, he lives alongside a widowed woman. Not out of romance at first, but necessity. Two broken souls helping each other survive. Over time, they become partners in fate. Spencer also has a child with this widow, whom he raises on the ranch, both as support in the present and as a potential heir in the future. Around this same time, Elizabeth returns to the Dutton Ranch with her 21-year-old son, the child she had with Jack. It's likely that her son becomes curious about his father and feels drawn to the land where his roots truly lie. And that's how these two new generations collide. Now, think about what being 21 years old in 1944 really means. Sadly, there's only one answer: war. At this point, we may see John Dutton II and Elizabeth's son fighting side by side in the Normandy landings. Once again, just like in 1923, the story unfolds on two fronts. On one side, brutal challenges at the Dutton Ranch. On the other, the relentless chaos and heartbreak of World War II. Back in Montana, life at the ranch won't be any easier. Rival ranches will once again pose serious threats, and under Spencer's harsh but disciplined leadership, life in Montana will be tougher than ever. Still, his widowed partner and the children will stand by him, offering strength and stability. This sets the stage for deeply emotional, yet tension-filled days on the ranch. Elizabeth will likely play a major role here as well, helping hold everything together. But let's be honest, it wouldn't be a Yellowstone series without a devastating loss. That's why I believe Elizabeth may tragically be killed by rival ranchers while her son is away at war. When he returns home, grief turns into rage. And just like in Yellowstone, this could spark a brutal power struggle, this time between brothers, over who will ultimately control the ranch. Of course, we already know how history ends. John Dutton II will rise on top. But the conflict between Elizabeth's son and the child of Spencer's widowed partner will be intense, personal, and explosive. And we can't talk about Montana without mentioning the Rainwaters. One of the most powerful storylines in 1923 was Tiana Rainwater's journey. She is the grandmother of Thomas Rainwater, whom we know from Yellowstone. In 1944, we may see Thomas's parents begin reclaiming their land and fighting for Native American rights in Montana. Taylor Sheridan's respect for Native American stories has always been remarkable, and I truly hope that thoughtful storytelling continues in 1944. I also believe that when John Dutton II eventually takes over the ranch after Spencer, he will receive crucial support from Tiana's children, strengthening the bond between the Duttons and the Rainwaters. Now, let's talk release timing. Unfortunately, 1944 is still in pre-production, and filming hasn't begun yet. However, since the series hasn't been cancelled, it must arrive before the end of 2028, when Taylor Sheridan is expected to part ways with Paramount. And honestly, a project this massive, combining World War II storytelling with Montana ranch life, feels far too big for just one season. That's why a 2026 release seems unlikely, especially with other Yellowstone spin-offs like Marshall's, The Madison, and Dutton Ranch already in the pipeline. 2027 feels like the most realistic and exciting possibility. especially given how passionate both Taylor Sheridan and Brandon Sklenar are about this series. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think will happen in 1944? Are you excited for this series? Let's talk in the comments. The official teaser for 1944 wastes absolutely no time reminding us where we are in the Dutton timeline and why this era is so dangerous. Set against the shadow of World War II, the series immediately establishes a heavy, emotional tone that feels more grounded, more tragic, and more intense than anything we've seen before. From the very first moments, it becomes clear that the Dutton Ranch is no longer just fighting for land or legacy, but for survival in a world that is rapidly falling apart. The teaser strongly suggests that Spencer Dutton is now an older man, hardened not only by decades of ranch wars, but by the quiet pain of loss he never truly recovered from. Alex's absence is felt in every moment, even when she is not mentioned. This version of Spencer is not driven by rage anymore, but by duty, memory, and the weight of everything he has built. At the same time, the teaser carefully introduces the next generation without fully revealing their fate. John Dutton II is no longer a child protected by Kara's strength, but a young man standing on the edge of adulthood during one of the most violent periods in history. The teaser hints that his path will be split between loyalty to the ranch and the unavoidable call of war. In 1944, there is no escaping that reality. If you are young, you go to war. And the teaser makes it very clear that this war will not stay overseas. Its consequences will reach deep into Montana, tearing families apart and changing them forever. Every shot, every line of dialogue, and every pause in the teaser is designed to create one feeling above all else: dread. What makes this teaser especially powerful is how it mirrors the structure of 1923. Just like before, we are being prepared for two parallel battles. One will be fought on the land, against rival ranches, political pressure, and betrayal. The other will be fought across the ocean, in a war that does not care about legacy, bloodlines, or history. The teaser strongly implies that these two worlds will collide in devastating ways. Loss will not be limited to the battlefield, and victory will come at a cost that the Duttons may not be ready to pay. This is not a story about glory, it is a story about endurance. Perhaps the most chilling part of the teaser is what it doesn't show. There are characters whose faces are hidden, relationships only hinted at, and moments that cut to black just before the impact. This silence is intentional. It tells us that 1944 will not rely on spectacle alone, but on emotional pressure that builds slowly and explodes when we least expect it. The Yellowstone universe has always thrived on tragedy, but 1944 Episode 1 looks ready to take that tragedy to an entirely new level, and if the teaser is any indication, the premiere will not ease us into this world. It will throw us directly into it, just like the war itself. By the time 1944 begins, Spencer Dutton is no longer the man we met in 1923. The teaser makes it painfully clear that life has taken everything from him except responsibility. This is a Spencer shaped by decades of sacrifice, silence, and survival. He is older, heavier in spirit, and far more dangerous in his calm than he ever was in his rage. The war did not just happen overseas. It happened inside him long before the world caught fire. Losing Alex changed him permanently, and 1944 does not shy away from showing how deeply that loss still controls his every decision. The teaser strongly suggests that Spencer never remarried out of love. Instead, he chose survival over happiness. The widowed woman living beside him is not presented as a replacement, but as a mirror. Two people bound by grief, helping each other endure rather than heal. This relationship feels quiet, practical, and emotionally restrained, and that makes it even more tragic. Spencer's heart never moved on, and the teaser subtly reinforces that Alex's shadow still follows him through every corner of the ranch. Even in moments of peace, there is no joy, only routine. As the head of the Dutton Ranch, Spencer is shown as someone who rules through experience rather than violence. But that does not make him weak. In fact, it makes him far more frightening. He has seen what happens when men rush into battles they cannot win. He has learned patience, strategy, and restraint, and the teaser hints that rival ranches may soon regret underestimating him. Montana in 1944 is not softer or safer. It is harsher than ever, and Spencer is the product of that environment. Every scar he carries is a lesson, and every decision he makes feels final. What truly makes this Spencer's darkest chapter is the impossible position he is in as a father. He is raising children in a world that is preparing to destroy them. The teaser quietly builds this tension by showing Spencer watching his son with a look that is part pride and part fear. He knows exactly what is coming. He knows that the war will take young men whether he agrees with it or not. And for the first time in his life, Spencer cannot fight this enemy with a rifle or a plan. All he can do is wait, and that helplessness may be the most painful burden he has ever carried. The teaser also hints that Spencer's leadership will be challenged from within, not just from outside forces. As new generations grow restless and ambitions collide, Spencer stands at the center of a future he may not live to control. His choices in Episode 1 will likely set events in motion that cannot be undone. And just like in 1923, his silence may speak louder than any speech. This is not a story about a man rising. It is about a man holding the line while everything around him threatens to collapse. And if the teaser is telling us anything, it is that Spencer Dutton's strength will be tested in ways he never prepared for. The teaser for 1944 Episode 1 raises one terrifying question above all others. What is the future of the Dutton family in a world that no longer protects legacy? Unlike previous chapters, this story is not just about defending land. It is about deciding who the Duttons will become when survival demands sacrifice. The family we see in 1944 is fractured, stretched across generations, and pulled in different directions by duty, grief, and ambition. And the teaser makes it very clear that not everyone will make it through this chapter unchanged. John Dutton II stands at the center of this uncertainty. No longer the baby who symbolized hope at the end of 1923, he is now old enough to be shaped by the violence of his time. The teaser subtly frames him as a man caught between two inheritances. One is the ranch, built on blood, endurance, and unforgiving land. The other is the war, which offers no legacy at all, only survival or death. Every glimpse of John suggests inner conflict. He is not reckless, but he is not sheltered either. He understands the weight of his name, and that weight grows heavier with every passing moment. At the same time, the return of Elizabeth's family brings unresolved pain back to the ranch. The teaser hints that old wounds are reopening and that the past is no longer content to stay buried. Elizabeth's presence is not portrayed as peaceful or nostalgic. Instead, it feels tense, almost ominous. She returns carrying grief, strength, and a child who may begin to question where he truly belongs. This is where the future begins to fracture. Two young men with shared blood but different paths, standing on the same land, shaped by different fathers. The teaser does not show conflict directly, but it strongly suggests that loyalty will soon be tested. Beyond the family itself, the pressures surrounding the Dutton Ranch are building once again. Rival ranches have not forgotten past defeats, and the absence of younger men during wartime creates opportunity for enemies. The teaser paints Montana as a place on the brink, where law is thin, violence is quiet, and revenge waits patiently. With so many men leaving for war, those who remain behind will be forced to carry responsibilities they were never prepared for. This imbalance sets the stage for betrayal, loss, and irreversible decisions. What makes this moment especially dangerous for the Duttons is that they are no longer united by a single vision. Spencer leads with caution, the younger generation feels pulled toward action, and the women of the family are forced to hold everything together while the world collapses around them. The teaser's pacing reflects this tension, slowing down just enough to let the fear settle in. It tells us that the coming conflict will not explode immediately. It will simmer, grow, and then strike when everyone is weakest. If 1944 Episode 1 is doing anything brilliantly, it is reminding us that the Dutton story has never been about winning. It has always been about what they are willing to lose. And as this new chapter begins, the teaser makes one thing painfully clear. The cost of carrying the Dutton name has never been higher. The transition from 1923 to 1944 is not just a time jump, it is a descent. The teaser makes it clear that whatever hope remained at the end of 1923 has been worn down by years of hardship, loss, and relentless pressure. The Duttons did not step into a better world. They endured a harsher one. Every decade in between has carved something away from them, leaving behind a family that survives not because life became easier, but because quitting was never an option. In 1923, the story was fueled by desperation and love. Spencer fought because he still believed in a future worth saving. By 1944, that belief has been replaced with obligation. The teaser reflects this shift in tone beautifully. There is less fire and more weight, less hope and more endurance. The Dutton Ranch still stands, but it no longer feels like a sanctuary. It feels like a fortress constantly preparing for the next attack. And this time, the enemy is not just across the fence line, it is global. World War II casts a shadow over every frame of the teaser, even when it is not directly mentioned. The war represents something the Duttons cannot control, negotiate with, or outgun. It does not care about land deeds or family history. It takes sons and gives nothing back. This alone makes 1944 darker than anything that came before it. The Duttons are no longer fighting to protect their future generations. They are fighting to make sure those generations survive at all. Another key difference between 1923 and 1944 is the silence. In 1923, pain was loud. People shouted, fought, and bled openly. In 1944, pain is quiet. The teaser shows long pauses, distant stares, and conversations that feel unfinished. These are people who have learned that expressing grief does not bring relief. It only invites more loss. This emotional restraint makes every moment heavier and far more unsettling. The generational shift also deepens the darkness of the story. Children raised on stories of sacrifice are now expected to become sacrifices themselves. The teaser subtly reinforces this cycle by showing how history repeats without mercy. Fathers prepare sons for a world that will not spare them. Mothers learn to live with the fear of knock on the door. And the land, unchanged and indifferent, continues to demand blood in exchange for survival. Perhaps the most haunting message of the teaser is that the Dutton legacy is no longer romantic. It is costly, it is isolating, and it is unforgiving. From 1923 to 1944, the story does not evolve toward peace. It evolves toward acceptance of pain as a permanent condition. The darkness is no longer shocking. It is expected. And that may be the most frightening evolution of all. As this new chapter begins, it feels less like the start of a story and more like the continuation of a curse that refuses to end. The final moments of the official 1944 Episode 1 teaser are where everything truly sinks in. Without giving direct answers, it delivers a clear message. This story is coming sooner than we expected, and it is not backing away from its scale or ambition. The teaser confirms that 1944 is officially in active development, with pre-production complete and early filming preparations underway. While an exact premiere date has not been revealed, the release window strongly points toward 2027 as the year the Yellowstone universe enters its World War II era. This aligns with Taylor Sheridan's broader timeline and the future of the franchise, making it clear that this series is a priority, not a side project. What makes this reveal so exciting is what it promises in terms of storytelling. The teaser positions Episode 1 as a slow-burning but emotionally heavy introduction, much like the opening of 1883 and 1923. Rather than rushing into chaos, it appears ready to let tension build naturally. We are being invited into a world already under strain, where every relationship feels fragile and every decision carries consequences. This approach suggests that the premiere will focus on atmosphere, character, and looming dread rather than immediate spectacle.